Yes, times have changed. Somehow, princess treatment from provider men has become the new status symbol, and some women are using this new status symbol to exclude other women. But instead of using this status symbol to exclude, we need to use it to include as many women as possible in the category of women who are treated well. So that in the end, the rise of princess treatment and provider men as status symbols may spark the rise of women setting higher standards for themselves and for the men that they date and marry. It's aspirational now, but with nuance and discernment, we can use this trend to raise women's awareness to their own high inherent value and worth, so that they may see that provider men, emotionally intelligent men, genuinely kind men are the only ones who should be allowed to access them. That type of man is now the bare minimum. Hey bestie! Welcome to the Spoiled Girly Support Group podcast, where we talk about how to get that bag while also securing your own bag. I'm your host, Elle, and let's get into it. On today's episode, we are talking about how princess treatment from provider men is apparently the new status symbol. We will explore how, due to women's increased economic power and strides in education, these conditions gave rise to a new status symbol: princess treatment from provider men. Women are now using the status symbol to, number one, communicate status, and number two, exclude women. But instead of using the status symbol to exclude, we need to use the status symbol to include as many women as possible in the category of women who are treated well. So that in the end, this rise of princess treatment and provider men as status symbols may spark the rise of women setting higher standards for themselves and for the men they date and marry. It's aspirational now, but with nuance, we can use this trend to raise women's awareness to their own high inherent value and worth, so that they may see that provider men, emotionally intelligent men, genuinely kind men are the bare minimum. In essence, princess treatment and provider men are status symbols, and it can be a good thing if we move with nuance and discernment. So today's class requires a lot of nuance, okay? So all the no nuance Nellies, you need to sit in front and take notes, okay? We are only taking questions at the end of the class because the no nuance Nellies in the comments keep asking these, what about this, what about that questions? And I'm like, if you just keep watching a little bit more, then that would have answered your question, okay? So if you haven't finished the video, no nuance nonsense in the comments, okay? So annoying. Anyway, we have a lot to cover, but before we get into it, I need you to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you never miss a Spoiled Girly episode. With that being said, let's get into it. Princess treatment is apparently the new status symbol. Purchasing your own luxury items or luxury experiences is no longer the most highest aspirational marker of high status. It is now getting a man to get you those things. The luxury items, the luxury experiences, and the progression kind of makes sense. Women, especially young women, are now increasingly outperforming men in higher education and keeping up with men's entry-level salaries. Listen to this. In Kim Parker's article, What's Behind the Growing Gap Between Men and Women in College Completion, Parker writes, "The growing gender gap in higher education, both in enrollment and graduation rates, has been a topic of conversation and debate in recent months. Young women are more likely to be enrolled in college today than young men, and among those ages, 25 and older, women are more likely than men to have a 4-year college degree. The gap in college completion is even wider among younger adults, ages 25 to 34. And what's more, women's educational gains have occurred alongside their growing labor force participation as well as structural changes in the economy. The implications of the growing gap in educational attainment for men are significant, as research has shown the strong correlation between college completion and lifetime earnings and wealth accumulation. And apparently, these changes in the labor market and women's earning potential and newfound wealth has been a disrupting force in the dating and marriage market, aka less women are getting married and more women are waiting longer for marriage due to a shortage of quote-unquote marriageable men. Listen to this. In Lichter et al.'s article titled Mismatches in the Marriage Market, Lichter and co. write, "One explanation for the declines in marriage is the putative shortage of economically attractive partners for unmarried women to marry." Putative, by the way, means commonly accepted or supposed. Scientists love to caveat things and not speak in absolutes, so everything is putative or supposedly or theoretically or widely accepted. So it's not a bad thing, it's just a thing, okay? And speaking of relationships and marriage, let's talk about today's sponsor, the Paired app. The Paired app is the ultimate relationship companion. It's a relationship care app offering an array of interactive games, challenges, and tools designed to foster communication, trust, and intimacy. The app empowers couples to unlock their relationship potential, strengthen their bond, and create lasting memories together. In the app, you can get started by selecting a conversation by type, area, or expert. Conversations by type includes questions, games, quizzes, and more. Conversations by area include conflict, intimacy, and one thing we always talk about in our classes, money and finances. We all know money is a sensitive topic for a lot of people, so having a tool to help navigate money issues and facilitate conversations surrounding money absolutely helps. It's important to be on the same page, the same paragraph, the same sentence about money with your partner. And you don't even need to be in the same room at the same time with your partner to complete the games or quizzes. Once you both complete the game, you can see all the responses. Also, the Paired app sends reminders to finish them. I'd like to emphasize that the Paired app also works with relationship therapists and experts to help create expert advice on different relationship topics. And another feature, there's so many features. Another feature is that you can also connect with your partner and create a timeline of the most important moments of your relationship. Click my link below to get a 7-day free trial and 25% off Paired Premium so that you can maintain and deepen your relationship with your partner. Now back to the topic. When studying the mismatches in the marriage market, Lister et al. Created synthetic husbands that served as stand-ins for the husbands that women would have ended up marrying if such husbands existed. And they modeled these synthetic husbands from the socio-demographic profiles of men comparable with the husbands of demographically similar women who are currently married. And via hot deck imputation and an additional sensitivity test, the researchers arrived at these findings. Lister et al. Writes, the didactic exercise shows that unmarried women face overall shortages of economically attractive partners with either a bachelor's degree or incomes of more than $40,000 a year. Most previous work suggests that women are more likely to remain unmarried than to settle by marrying partners who are mismatched in age, education, or race. Very interesting. Let's keep reading. A recent study by Kian, 2017, however, indicated that patterns of assortative mating have shifted, switching from a tendency in 1980 for women to marry up in socioeconomic status to a pattern today of marrying down. This reversal suggests, at a minimum, that growth in the pool of marriageable men has not kept pace with the rapid rise in women's socioeconomic status. I mean, let's read that again. The growth in the pool of marriageable men has not kept pace with the rapid rise in women's socioeconomic status. I mean, we already talked about it here. Women are more likely to date and marry down, and men are more likely to punch up, so to speak. Men are more likely to date out of their league, and I'm not the one saying this, okay? The men are the ones saying this. So watch that class if you want to hear it from the horse's mouth. The authors go on to write, the fact that women's educational levels now exceed men's further implies that young women by necessity are less financially dependent on husbands than in the past, and that educational hypogamy has become more commonplace. Young women seemingly face shortages of demographically similar men to marry. So we're not even talking about hypergamy here, okay? We're talking isogamy, literally lateral movement. And that too has become increasingly difficult because apparently the men are not catching up to women. Long story short, the researchers' analyses provide clear evidence of an excess supply of men with low income and education, and conversely, shortages of economically attractive unmarried men with at least a bachelor's degree and higher levels of income for women to marry. Basically, at a time when women finding men who are their match education and income-wise has become such a difficult task. No wonder princess treatment from provider men has become a status symbol. And here's another one. In Richard Fry's article, Young Women Are Out-Earning Young Men in Several U.S. Cities, Fry writes, the New York, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles metropolitan areas are among the cities where young women are earning the most relative to young men. In both the New York and Washington metro areas, young women earn 102% of what young men earn when examining median annual earnings among full-time, year-round workers. In the Los Angeles, Long Beach, Anaheim metro area, the median earnings for women and men in this age group were identical in 2019. Although this trend doesn't really extend to women's performance later in life because women are still disproportionately burdened with caregiving responsibilities and are more likely to step back from the workforce or choose flexibility over higher pay and therefore earn less than men do later in their careers. And Fry also writes about this. Fry writes, as these women age, history suggests that they may not maintain this level of parity with their male counterparts. For example, in 2000, the typical woman aged 16 to 29 working full-time year-round earned 88% of a similar young man. By 2019, when people in this group were between the ages of 35 and 48, women were earning only 80% of their male peers on average. Earnings parity tends to be greatest in the first years after entering the labor market. And before we get sidetracked into this whole gender pay gap situation, that is a class in and of itself. But I wanted to point out that earnings parity tends to be greatest in the first years of entering the labor market. Meaning, over time, what are the factors that cause women to step back from participation in the workforce or choose flexibility over higher pay and thus end up earning less than men do? Okay? Because this is a hot take. People are not going to like this. But if I'm a business owner and I found out that you could pay women less, then I would only ever hire women. Okay? So this whole thing that women are paid less simply because you're a woman, I refuse that. I rebuke that. Okay? I don't think so. But women still end up earning less than men in the end. Why? Is because women are pushed into making these choices that cause them to earn less, that cause them to work less, that cause them to step back, that cause them to take on caregiving duties for their family, their children, their aging parents, that cause them to then support a man's career instead of their own, that cause them to choose flexibility because what if their family needs them? What if they need to pick their child up from daycare? What if this? What if that? What if that? Choices that men still do not have to make today, okay? So, like I said, it's a class in and of itself. We're probably going to talk about it later, but we'll see. But long story short, women, especially younger women, can now acquire for themselves the luxury items and the luxury experiences at a scale like never before. And as per the top-down trickle-down mechanism of function, and in this case, lifestyle, when a trend has reached the point of saturation, aka when the normies have adopted the trend, it is no longer desirable for the higher classes, so they switch up and look for the next unattainable thing. When women can now buy themselves the status symbol, there comes a rise of a new status symbol. And in our case, today, in this day and age, it is now provider men who acquire the status symbols for women who are now the status symbol. And so provider men and the princess treatment that they provide has become the new status symbol. And with the adoption and consequent saturation of this trend, it is possible that women as a whole will have greater and easier access to treatment from provider men as per the top-down, trickle-down mechanism function of fashion, and in this case, lifestyle. So do you get it now? Like, it can be a good thing, but we still need to be in discernment, okay? So let's talk about provider men as the status symbols. If you are new here,
Are you new here?
I love that. Provider men are the bare minimum, okay? So it is a spoiled girly support group. Provider men are the bare minimum. And in the spoiled girly support group, provider men are not status symbols, okay? Like, they're the only men that exist. And as we talked about in our Being Basic is an act of self-love, this top-down, trickle-down mechanism function of fashion isn't at all bad. Okay, this trend cycle makes available to the masses what was once exclusive to the quote-unquote elite. Things like modern plumbing, home ownership, electricity, vehicle ownership, college degrees, and all the other stuff that only the elitist of the elite had. And like I said, today's class requires a lot of nuance, so I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. The use of princess treatment provided by provider men is the new unattainable trend as per the top-down, trickle-down mechanism function of fashion. But its mass appeal, see, I'm still holding your hand, but its mass appeal and inevitable trickle down to the masses can possibly be a net good. I pray for the day that princess treatment becomes the bare minimum for all women. Okay? Because it is for the spoiled girlies, and it's one macro trend we can get behind. But as an exercise in discernment, we will also get into the criticisms of the use of princess treatment by provider men as a status symbol. If we're not careful, if we're not in our discernment, if we are not applying nuance, this aspirational trend, which can possibly be a net good, can just be another way for the patriarchy to divide us from each other and teach us to assign value to ourselves as dictated by the quote-unquote caliber of men we choose. When women now use princess treatment or provider men as a status signal to display their value and worth, it may teach women that at the end of the day, men still determine your worth. In plain language, okay, long story short, we need to watch out when something so beautiful gets corrupted yet again by people and systems designed to take advantage of us. So let's talk about the downsides of using princess treatment by provider men as a status symbol. When how men treat women is how we are signaling our status, isn't that then a roundabout way of allowing men to determine our status, our value, our worth? Like when people hear that men only do things for certain women but not other women, it can be perceived as still putting the power of arbitration of female value in the hands of men. It's like men still decide whether you're worthy of princess treatment or not. So we need to reframe our thinking into this. Only men who give you princess treatment can access you. Point blank, period. And if they don't give you princess treatment, they don't exist. How he treats you is a reflection of him, not you. So don't feel that if you have had negative experiences in the past, you're not worthy of princess treatment, you're doomed to a life of below bare minimum effort men. No, like for some reason, these people manipulated you into allowing them to access you and allowing them into your life. Okay, that's on them. Unless they really premeditated entering your life and ruining it for you, or trying to. And I'm not gonna sit here and absolve women of all responsibility, but the fact of the matter is, it's all this talk of
Women should be better.
and never narcissistic men are so good at pretending to be good until they think they have you trapped and then they show their true colors. So there's definitely a lot of nuance in this conversation, but long story short, I want you to know that you choose who is allowed in your world, into your space, into your sphere, okay? You have the power of choice. You choose who gets to give you princess treatment. Princess treatment is the bare minimum, so the men who come empty-handed, they don't get picked, okay? Bye. One thing I also wanted to talk about when we talk about the use of princess treatment by provider men as status symbols, because how did we even get to this point, okay? It was promoted by a lot of social media creators, content creators, influencers, okay? So one thing that we need to do as an exercise in discernment is to know that social media is not real, okay? But it doesn't mean that it's not useful. We talk about media literacy almost every other class, but I just had this realization that helped me transform my relationship to social media. Social media is performance art. And how we, the audience, interact with the content is also part of the art itself. So when I find relationship goals type of content or day in the life type of content, get ready with me, it's performance art. It's a show, it's a movie. What can I take away from this? Lessons, recommendations. Does it mirror a part of my life that I am proud of, that I am lacking in, that I want to work on better, that I absolutely despise? What does this piece of art trigger in me? So for some people, they can watch a young married couple's video and think nothing of it or outright hate the creators of said content. But me, knowing that social media is performance art, I see a young couple navigating social media stardom, a new baby, and a young mom, a young wife, finding that she may have outgrown her husband's emotional intelligence level, and maybe she shouldn't have married so young, or maybe she shouldn't have married her husband, who at every turn downplays and disrespects her. It's all performance art, okay? So stop getting mad and start getting paid. And if you don't want to listen to me, listen to Tiffany Renee Hall, LMFT, first of her name.
A lot of people really enjoy the social validation that they get from being in a relationship, and social media has provided the perfect platform for people to essentially show off and get all of that validation. And the influence of social media has really influenced our expectations when it comes to dating and relationships because, like this woman points out, it's not just enough to pick a partner. You have to make sure that your entire romantic relationship and your situation is a subject of envy, that it can make people feel like, they're couples goals, those are relationship goals. Your relationship is not going to look like what's being shown on social media. And the reason why is because most of what we see on social media is heavily curated. It is not an accurate depiction of people's real lives, real relationships. It's all a highlight reel. And so think about what it is that you're seeking when you are choosing a partner, when you're deciding to be in a romantic relationship. Is it that you want people to see what you have? You want people to see how happy you are that you have been chosen and this is the greatest love story and you guys are relationship goals? Most of the couples that are out here on social media trying to be relationship goals really ain't. We don't know these people, and we need to stop comparing ourselves to people who we don't know and to situations that we're only seeing bits and pieces of. So I say all that to say is that dating and relationships these days has not just become about personal fulfillment. It's also become about the social capital that comes with having the audience to validate how perfect and wonderful your relationship is. And guess what? Nobody's is.
Let's get into the comments.
Hard agree. Capitalism has infiltrated our relationships. It always did, but it's never too late to say, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a damn minute.
Absolutely. Capitalism, as with any other socioeconomic system, pervades all aspects of our lives, especially relationships. Someone said,
Also a therapist, I don't post my relationship because it's not something that defines me, nor do I want to center him in the brand I'm building.
I mean, let's talk about it. Men can be a liability for highly successful women. And Sabrina Carpenter's song, Please, 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 is such a timely song for this. Carpenter sings,
Please, 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 don't prove I'm right. And please, 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 don't bring me to tears when I just did my makeup so nice. Heartbreak is one thing, my ego's another. I beg you, don't embarrass me, mother.
I remember when I said that social media is performance art, it's kind of suspicious that this song gets released after her boyfriend, who is a new father of a literal newborn, is seen following her from one concert to another. And everyone fangirling over his fangirl behavior towards her is also part of the performance art. Like, we're all caught up in it. And on some level, we know this. And on some level, we really don't care. Because we're gonna eat it up every single time. I mean, all this to say, if couple goals, princess treatment, provider men type of content don't resonate with you, it makes you feel a certain type of way, absolutely do not consume it, okay? It is so bad for your health when you get your heart rate up every time you get on your social media apps. Like, you open it and you're like, I hate this. You're like, why? Why do people do that, okay? But if you are partial to that type of content, then you know it can be a form of manifestation. If you have never experienced princess treatment in your life,
It's a whole new world. Like, this is how the other half lives. Like, I didn't even know this existed.
okay, so get rid of what isn't serving you and get more of what is. Your time is so precious, so stop spending it getting mad and start spending it getting paid. Now, here's something that made me stop in my tracks when I first saw it.
I saw this TikTok once and I think about it all the time. It said, you can tell how much a woman loves herself by the partner that she chooses. Okay, did you hear that? Do you need me to say it again? You can tell how much a woman loves herself by seeing the partner that she chooses. And that is so accurate and so telling. I can't even.
I mean, I can't even either. Let's get into the comments.
We accept the love we think we deserve.
And before you get mad saying it's victim blaming and all that, it's not. Listen to this.
I don't know why people are so quick to say, what do you do to attract them type of people? What? Sometimes God places certain people in your life to be the example of what you do not want to become. I'm not doing anything to attract broke. God is showing me broke is what I never want to be. I'm not doing nothing to attract somebody who's a bad communicator, somebody who has anger issues, somebody who's not motivated, who does not move in intention. God is using those folks as examples for what I do not want to be. Sometimes you need to have bad examples around you so you know how to navigate in the good. I feel my help coming. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you need bad examples around you so you know how to navigate in the good. I'm not attracting that. I'm working actively to never be that. So I got to see you move wrong so I can move right. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So of course the type of people flock to me. They want to get where I'm going. Of course you want to stand beside greatness. You want to lay beside good. What am I doing to attract that? Being amazing. Being highly favored. Being one of one.
As a spoiled girly, living in her light and sharing her light with others, you attract anyone and everyone. And I know that sometimes it feels like you don't have any power to get rid of these people in your life, but I'm telling you right now that you do, okay? Saying that we accept the love we think we deserve is not victim blaming. It's pattern recognition. And the better you get at pattern recognition, the better you'll get at breaking dysfunctional patterns. And honestly, just do your best, okay? And also, you deserve only the very best, okay? Next commenter said,
I love myself so much that I chose not to have a partner. Hashtag self-care.
exactly, like she really said, self-care, self-love. If no one can match me, bye. And that's really what today's class is all about. Yes, times have changed. Somehow, princess treatment from provider men has become the new status symbol, and some women are using this new status symbol to exclude other women. But instead of using this status symbol to exclude, we need to use it to include as many women as possible in the category of women who are treated well. So that in the end, the rise of princess treatment and provider men as status symbols may spark the rise of women setting higher standards for themselves and for the men that they date and marry. It's aspirational now, but with nuance and discernment, we can use this trend to raise women's awareness to their own high inherent value and worth, so that they may see that provider men, emotionally intelligent men, genuinely kind men are the only ones who should be allowed to access them. That type of man is now the bare minimum. They're not the prize, they're not the status symbol, they're just regular, okay? And everyone else is a below bare minimum low effort man. That's all I have for you today. I just wanted to let you know that you have so much inherent value and worth in a world that is hell-bent on devaluing you. And a big thank you to the Paired app for making today's class possible. Click my link below to get a 7-day free trial and 25% off Paired Premium so that you can maintain and deepen your connection with your partner. Now get that bag, bestie. Also, bestie, wake up.